to DVD because it just was not good. Not at all.
Dude, but like everyone remembers that movie. Even though it never did well, everyone remembers that.
Brandon, had you heard of Rent-A-Kid before I brought it up to you?
No, I never did.
And then we watched the trailer and you were like, what the hell is this?
That looks like a pretty crazy movie. Leslie Nielsen and Christopher Lloyd happens to be in it for some random part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, Leslie Nielsen's made some just bangers and some absolute duds. Like he's had such a roller coaster of a career.
Yeah, man. He had some stinkers for sure. But he was overall pretty consistently stupid. That's what always made him great.
Yeah, like the Naked Guns.
All of them. Brandon's a fan of those movies for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But
so you guys were both born in the 80s though, right? I mean, we're not that far apart in age, but
yeah, we're 80s babies for sure.
Yep.
Okay. I think these lists show.
Okay. Well, that'll be good. I think they'll bring diversity amongst the lists for sure.
For sure.
Well, how's Austin been going, man?
Dude, I love Austin. I'm having a hard time adjusting, even though it's like in the same state. And that sounds stupid. It's just a totally different vibe. No one in Austin is from Austin, and very few are from Texas even. So it's just like this true melting pot of like cultures and personalities. And I'm right on the border of like the city and the suburbs. But on the way home today, like nice area of town, I pull in and it's just like two homeless dudes arguing, about to get in a fight. And I'm like, everyone hypes up Austin and they're like, oh, it's so beautiful. There's so many great restaurants. It's like everything I've experienced, not everything, but a lot of the experiences I've had is like, okay, we're going to go to this restaurant where it fits like 9 people, wait 2 hours because it's some like unique and I'm going to spend $50 on like food and I'm still going to be fucking hungry. And then on the way home, I'm going to see 2 bums get in a fight. It's like homeless people and overpriced food out here. But no, it's actually a really, I'm just giving some of the hipsters a hard time, but it's actually really beautiful.
The first weekend that I ever met the great Sambino, we actually went to Austin drinking together, and their pictures, they're out there somewhere, and I'm sure they'll surface one day when we make the Sensibly Loud Media documentary. But I'm like carrying Sam down 6th Street and stuff, and like I just remember us eating some pizza that just tasted like fucking cardboard. It was just awful, but I mean,
yep.
2 o'clock in the morning, whatever. And
they're
yeah, and there was one. We like went up to like 5th Street or something like that to like get a cab, basically, or something. I don't know. This is all patched together with stories.
Yeah, no, get off the main street.
Yeah, and Sam was just like drunk as hell and just so concerned about like everybody's well-being. He's just such a nice guy. Whenever he gets drunk that way, he's always concerned about well-being. And there was this guy. A bus went by, and there's this guy that's just like face first, like up against the window, just passed out. Just something you'd see on public transportation. And Sam like runs up to the bus and is like beating on the front of it, like on the window part, but on the front of it, like yelling at the driver, just screaming, "Is he okay? Is that guy okay?" just like
worried about homeless guys' well-being.
Yeah, just like, dude, get the fuck over here. Stop it.
What's funny is that would not stand out to me if I was just like driving by or walking by. I probably wouldn't even notice that behavior. I'm just immune to it 10 weeks in.
I believe it.
But no, overall, it's a good time, man. You spend any time down here, Brandon? Spend a little time in Austin, right?
Yeah, I have grandparents who live in North Austin, Georgetown.
Yep.
So I spent a lot of time in Round Rock, Georgetown, pretty much all the little suburbs. And then over the past like 5 years or so, got a friend who lived in Leander and would go down to the Domain, checked out all those places. Steiner Ranch Steakhouse on Lake Travis. Oh, man.
Steiner Ranch that's fantastic views and fantastic food.
The lobster in it. Oh, man. Yeah.
Dude, lobster mac and cheese. You're my kind of guy, Brandon. That's a great call. That's actually the best thing on that menu.
It's a great date night experience, too. You go on a Friday night. They have a guy on acoustic guitar, sun setting. You see the lake. It's perfect.
Much better than people always hype up that Oasis that's on Lake Travis because you get this great view, but then the food's trash. Steiner Ranch, way better.
Food's trash, but it's a good wedding point. My cousin got married there.
Great view for sure. Like that's the part of Austin that makes it unique because you don't have anything like that in DFW. Even though I like DFW because you got 4 professional sports teams.
Right. Yeah.
But I can go down and like stare into my creek, so there's that.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Kyle, did you hear the mishap that I got into with public transportation recently when there was that batshit crazy woman on the train that was telling everybody that it was going to end and that people were about to get off after a Mavericks game?
No, was this on the Dallas Dart or the TRE?
Yeah, the TRE. And like this woman, everybody was just listening to this crazy ass woman on the train. I told it on radio before, but everybody was listening to this crazy ass woman on the train, and I had to be the voice of reason to stand up and look at the crowd and just say, "This woman's fucking crazy. Don't listen."
Dude, people behave absurdly on those, especially post game.
Yes. Well, and the thing is, like, you got to be smart enough not to listen to some stranger on a train. But the thing is about Texas is that people are so nice here, and so people are gullible whenever they're nice. And you fall for stupid crap. And, so I felt like I had to stand up for the people because nobody else was doing it.
Right. Man, I've seen some pretty bad behavior. I saw like dudes that, I mean, these weren't like homeless dudes. These were dudes that clearly just came from the game, Dallas fans, and we had just beaten Cleveland when they had Kyrie and LeBron. This little like 10-year-old kid walks down the stairs because like, 2 stories and he has a Kyrie jersey on. He's just like, double bird, fuck you, fuck Kyrie, and fuck the Cavs. And I'm like, dude, this guy's a fucking asshole. And I was like, dude, leave the kid alone. Like, I mean, part of me was offended because I'm such a LeBron fan, but I was also like, leave the kid alone, man. But it was hilarious because his dad was there, the mom was there, and he was just like, I'm ruining this family's night for sure.
No doubt about it.
There might have been a few alcoholic beverages in his system at that point in time.
Oh,
no doubt.
Yeah.
One would hope.
Kyle, did I ever tell you about the time that I was taking the train from Boston to New York and I was pretty hammered on the train on the way there and the train absolutely smoked a deer on the tracks?
Damn, that's pretty intense.
Dude,
those things are fast, man.
The craziest part about it was that like the conductor got like, I don't know, like the lady that was going around taking the tickets, she must have drawn like the short straw because she had to get off the train. And at one point I saw her get back on the train and she was covered in blood. So it made it seem like she was the one that had to go pull the carcass off.
It's the start of a horror movie, man.
It was horrible. And I was like, that woman absolutely took my ticket earlier. So I don't know. It was a wild scene, though.
In Texas, there would have been dudes just rolling up their sleeves like, let's go out there and pull that son of a bitch out. That's the difference of the Northeast and Texas.
So true. It was such a crazy scene to be on, though. It was almost horrific.
So, Kyle, let me ask you about, since we're on the topic of transportation, how you liking that Austin traffic?
So it's funny, man. It's not okay. So it's pretty bad. It's more so people just suck at driving. It's not actually that much traffic. It's just people suck at driving.
Infrastructure in Texas, though.
Yeah, you're from Northeast, live in California, Justice. So you understand people in Texas suck at driving. And I'm from Texas, but we suck. Mm-hmm. And Austin is just like 10 times as bad. And there's not enough highways. The infrastructure is not great. But honestly, it doesn't bother me as much because like where I'm driving to is all pretty, in my eyes, like compact because I'm used to DFW, which is so spread out.
Right.
So when I'm in Austin, it's like, okay, I got to go 8 miles. That might take 20 minutes, which is ridiculous. It's pretty bad traffic, but it's only 8 miles. Like it's not 38 miles.
Right. I mean, that's a good point because you do have to consider the actual just commute without like the worrying about the traffic because it really is. I'd say overall things move okay here in Dallas. I mean, man, it's way worse than Atlanta and places like that. It's far worse.
Houston, so much worse. DFW has so many highways, so many options.
It does. Do you guys remember a couple years ago whenever in Atlanta that bridge got blown out? And
yeah.
So that was like right down the street from Sam's house. And I went to Atlanta like 2 weeks after that. It took forever to get anywhere. It would be like them just blowing out 35 and you not be able to use 35 at all. Could you imagine?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, the Austin traffic's bad, but it's not that bad. That being said, I never touch 35. So because I'm more west, I never touch 35. So maybe I just don't realize how bad it is.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Well, I heard like the Mohawk is the worst thing to be on.
Yeah, dude. The Mopac, dude. That is worst. Yeah, I stay clear of that. I use Waze every day. Now I sound calm about it, but in the morning when I'm late, I'm just like dropping F-bombs left and right on grandma. I'm just losing my mind, swerving recklessly.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We've all been there. And then there's nothing worse than like just flying out the door and you're running late as it is and it's always your own stupid fault. So you can't even really be mad. Yeah. And then like looking in the gas lights on, you're like, son of a bitch.
Dude, that happened to me today. And I told you I stopped and got gas on the way home because I pulled in with like stars for miles until after 10, it just goes to a bunch of stars. So I was like between 0 and 10.
Yeah. Just a bunch of the word fuck starred out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
man.
exactly what it is.
Well, tell you what, let's go ahead and dive into movies. So, Kyle, how about, so we could do this a couple of ways. We could just all go 10, 10, 10, 10, or we could just go top 10 or like 10 to 1. We definitely do it 10 to 1. Do you just want to do yours first?
Yeah. I think it may be easier to go like 10 through 1 for the listeners. I think it's a little easier to do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's go in reverse order. So I'm going to start at 10.
Okay.
I actually have 2 movies that were before 1983, I believe. So 10 is Caddyshack.
Okay.
So we'll talk about them. I'll just rank them. So 10 is Caddyshack.
Mm-hmm.
9, I'm going to get beat up for this one. There's Something About Mary.
Oh no, that's a great movie.
And I'm going to headline with, these are all just which ones that I laughed the hardest at the first time I saw it and is rewatchable.
Yeah.
8 is Borat.
Okay. Okay.
7 is Dogma.
Okay.
6, Tropic Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
5, Old School.
Mm-hmm.
4, which could be my number 1, Friday.
Yeah.
3, so stereotypical, The Hangover.
Of course.
2, Blazing Saddles. 1, Anchorman.
Whew. That is all over the place.
All over the place.
Nice
Brandon,
list.
where do you start with that list?
Let's see.
Which one do you guys have the most problem with being in the top 10? Borat?
Borat for sure.
Yeah, I would say Borat.
Dude, I love Sasha. I knew that was not going to be a hot opinion.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't put it in the top 10. Maybe if there was like a top 50 list, but yeah.
Maybe crack 49. I was also like 13 when that movie came out, I think. So I just think I was just remember thinking that was the funniest movie when I was a kid.
Yeah.
What did you struggle with most?
Dude, eras really. Like I feel like I needed to do like a pre 1988 and a post 1988.
Yeah, that does make it a little bit tough. I found mine were very mixed in that bag, but I feel like overall you captured a good span of time. I think that Old School's better than Anchorman, though.
So I think there could be 5 Will Ferrell movies in here. I think I could make an argument also for Talladega Nights,
Yeah.
Step Brothers. You know, there's quite a few. So I think Old School might be more like slapstick, laugh out loud funny, but I think Anchorman has more nuance to it. And I really also just like that period of time a lot. Like I like 70s throwbacks.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Are you a Goldmember fan?
Yeah, it's just so corny and it's not, I don't know. Yeah, I am. I think Goldmember's pretty funny, but Anchorman just is so much funnier.
Just smokes it for sure.
Absolutely.
That is the best of the 3 Austin Powers movies, though, I think.
Oh, not even close.
Yeah. What do you think, Brandon?
Austin Powers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm always partial to the very first one.
Yeah, the first one was good.
Yeah, it kind of set the foundation, you know.
I think it goes 3, 1, 2.
Yeah,
that's what that looks like.
Yeah, I agree with
that.
Yeah,
two's rough. What do you guys think about Friday cracking the top 5?
Now, Friday is an excellent movie, man.
It is. It's a classic.
I feel like they filmed that for like $40,000.
Right? Yeah.
If that.
It is. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like there's really no premise to this movie. If you think about it, like what is the plot? It's just has these individual scenes that are so great. Each scene is so long, but the way they just capture like kind of like the culture in that like mid 90s, early 90s is really good.
You know what? Speaking of that kind of movie that I saw this week, they're making a How High too.
Ooh, I don't know how I feel about that. That's that's like 15 years later, 18 years later?
At least, dude, that was like, oh man, that was
2000?
2000, yeah, 2001, something like that.
That's a classic. I mean, that's definitely not top 10 worthy.
Oh no, definitely not. But
it's still a classic.
It's definitely a classic for sure.
If I had any regrets on this list, it would be I would probably replace Borat with Talladega Nights because I just think there's so many funny one-liners in that movie. And it came out when I was like, 16 and really immature. And I just was like, I'm in love with this movie.
See, I saw it and I hated it the first time I saw it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Well, I didn't hate's probably a strong word, but like it really grew on me.
The penis scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Just all of it. The ridiculous
sweet 6 pound 8 ounce baby Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, just the whole thing is a masterpiece woven together with John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell. They're just great together. But I feel like if they start doing, so are they actually making a Step Brothers 2? Is that happening? That is happening. Right?
Is that happening?
I'm pretty sure.
Let's look at this. I don't know about that. Yeah, I think that.
No, last I heard that was being filmed in like Dallas or something.
Yep. There's definitely talks about it. I don't know. You got to be kind of delicate with that because the odds of it being as good as the first one are pretty much slim to none. But even though
I agree.
Probably make money.
But you also don't want to overdo those characters together. Like I think that Will Ferrell is good about not overdoing it, other than Anchorman 2, which was the worst thing I've ever seen.
Anchorman 2 was really bad, and they turned down Old School 2. I think Will Ferrell, for the most part, I agree, knows when to call it quits.
But Will Ferrell wasn't the star of Old School either. He was
like 3 stars, really. I mean, I guess it was technically Luke Wilson, but Luke Wilson's like so can he really be like the star?
Vince Vaughn
had
a big part in it too.
Vince Vaughn, yeah, that would be the third part. And that was kind of his resurgence movie because remember he did Swingers, which is a really actually a great movie where he essentially plays the same person that he played in Old School. And then he did a bunch of like I don't remember the name of the films, but it was a lot of like serious and dramatic movies and was not successful as an actor at all. Yeah, he did. Like, why would he be in Psycho? And then he pretty much just redid that character and was really good at it. And then he does it again in Wedding Crashers.
He's always the exact same type of character in these types of movies, though. Like, that's just what he does best. He's just kind of that despondent asshole.
Yeah, and I actually love that character. I think it's really funny.
I agree. I mean,
who does that remind you of, Kyle?
Yeah, I was going to say, pretty much how I live my life every day. But yeah.
Oh, that's great. I thought I was kind of sneaking a couple in there too with, I think Something About Mary I don't think either of y'all would have had that coming out of my top 10.
I would have had it out of your top 10 or mine, but that's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
I don't disagree with it being in a top 10 list. I think it's a great movie, as well as Tropic Thunder and dude, like kudos putting Blazing Saddles high up there. That's a classic, man.
Dude, I just remember my dad showing it to me when I was like 6, and he's like, "This is the funniest movie of all time." Like, it was a fact. And I was like, "Oh shit, this is the funniest movie ever. I gotta see what's up." And I just loved it, and it still holds up pretty good. Like, you watch it as an adult, and it's still really funny.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Caddyshack was another classic that I snuck in there because I love golf, so it just always instant classic to me when I was 6 years old. Well, I should have been 6 years old, but I did.
Probably not, but I mean, you didn't know what was going on. Chevy Chase was amazing.
Oh, and Bill Murray, dude, one of his best roles.
Right, we talked about that, and Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield's character is pretty much just like my goal in life.
Yeah, no, dude, I'd definitely rather be like Chevy Chase in that movie.
Definitely not Bill Murray, but that character is classic.
No, I love the grass that he invents that you can play 36 holes on in the morning and get stoned to the bejesus in the evening.
So great. And that's like the classic like 80s R-rated film before and I've heard Bill Simmons talk about this, like in the 90s you transition to this like, total like PG-13 family type comedy with Mike Myers, Adam Sandler, guys like that. In the 80s you still had those like banger R comedies that were a lot funnier, in my opinion.
Strong agree. Strong agree. We'll talk about more of those here in a few minutes.
Oh yeah.
Before we transition on to y'all's list, what about Dogma? That's a sleeper.
Dude, yeah, I forgot you mentioned that. Dude, that is a great movie. I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith.
I think Kevin Smith's a genius.
He's something.
You know what they're filming right now, right?
What, Clerks 3?
No, it's Jay and Silent Bob, new movie.
Yeah.
It's going to be a reboot.
Yeah, I did see that.
But it's like a satirical reboot.
That's a satirical reboot of what?
Like, basically, they find out that the studio is trying to reboot their story. So Jay and Silent Bob go and try to stop it.
Got it. Okay.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
That'll be great.
Justin's
out. No, dude, I'm in. I'm 100% in.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure they weren't trying to reboot like, Strikes Back or something like that, because those are so damn funny. Or
dude, if I read you the cast list of Dogma, you'd be like, what the fuck? Was that like the, highest paid movie in the 90s or in the late 90s? It's like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are the headline on that.
Chris Rock's in it.
Salma Hayek, like that's a lot of A-list people on that list.
It really is. That it I remember seeing that and just being like, where does this really end as far as just like all these people being in it? I'm looking at it right now too. George Carlin's in it, for God's sakes.
Dude, like there's some heavy hitters on that. Jason Lee. Yep.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, so I don't have it in my top 10 by any means, but I could make a strong case for it. Makes sense.
And like I said, a lot of these are at that point in time, how much did that movie mean to me? Like, how rewatchable is it, and how hard did I laugh the first time I saw it? That's kind of like the three keys on all of those.
So for the last question for you then, were there any that were just barely cracking the top 10 but just didn't quite make it?
Dude, there was a lot of what I would call honorary mentions. And Talladega Nights was my first one. I had so this is another 80s one that it just sticks out to me so much. You guys remember Porky's?
Oh yeah. Do we ever?
Dude,
yeah,
I just thought that was
before I was 13 and discovering that on cable, and I was like, oh, parents aren't around, I'm gonna watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
Dude, I thought that movie was so funny. And I was just like I was like looking through, we have probably 150 DVDs downstairs, and I was looking through them like, and a couple that caught my eye that I wrote down that I would not put top 10, but just so funny the first time I saw it. I thought the 40-Year-Old Virgin the first time I saw it was just absolutely brilliant.
And Porky's wasn't part of your collection, right? That was the missus, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's like only something you would see on like Stars. I don't even think they have that in DVD.
Oh no, it's definitely out there. That's a classic.
So two other ones that I'll mention that I think one will surprise you. So Mrs. Doubtfire, I just thought that was a classic, and I really like Robin Williams, so I feel like I had to put a Robin Williams movie at least in the top 15.
Yep.
And then, I mean, of course, The Big Lebowski. I was considering that. I saw that. But another one that's just like, no fucking way, but go back and watch it. It's so funny, is Shaun of the Dead.
God damn it.
Yes.
Son of a bitch.
So great.
Ben said that was a top 10 movie, and I said he was absolutely incorrect.
It's not a top 10, but I could make an argument for top 20. It's the Pau Gasol of movies, Justin.
Let's not
go so high on him.
Hey, we'll have that argument later on this week.
Yeah.
I've got some questions for you on the basketball show that you're gonna like.
Can't wait.
All right, so honorable. So do you want me to go ahead and go, Brendan, or do you want to go?
You go.
Okay, so a couple that I had outside the top 10. I'll just start that off. So Fear and Loathing was definitely one that I was having a real hard time keeping out, just because, like, aside from how batshit crazy that movie is, it's hilarious.
It is. It's like, I guess that's a comedy, right? It's a comedy and also like a drama and a psychedelic all at once.
Yeah, it's a hodgepodge of things. But I mean, the attorney driving and just Bat Country, the whole thing. Yeah, the Bat Country thing. It's all gravy. It's a great movie. Go ahead. No,
I was gonna say, I feel like I've seen so many parts of that movie, but only all the way through like one time.
Yeah, it's hard to watch all the way through. It's not like just kick your feet up and
right
kind of thing. It's just not one of those. Bowfinger was also outside the top 10.
Wow, Bowfinger. Is that Eddie Murphy?
Yes.
Wow, I haven't thought about that movie in 20 years.
Dude, that's Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin both.
Yeah, that's a great movie, actually.
Yeah, the best part about the whole thing is you should watch it as now, because the best part about it is the fact that they make fun of Scientology, but it's just called Mind Speak instead. But it's basically the same exact thing. And Terrence, I can't think of Terrence. I always forget his last name. Hold on, let me look this up. He's in it as well, and he's in so many great things like Wall Street and
Terrence Stamp.
Yep, there you go. So yeah, he's fantastic in it. The storyline is great. I just love the scene whenever Eddie Murphy's running across the highway and he makes him do it a couple of times. He's like, all right, let's do it one more time. And then you can go on an errand and get us some coffee. And that's all he wants to do is go get coffee for him.
Yep. Yeah, that movie came out 20 years ago. Yeah. That's crazy.
It's a classic. It's a real good one. Any others outside? No, I don't think so. So number 10 for me is Dumb and Dumber.
Considered it.
Did you? Where would that fall for you?
Probably like top 25. But it may be because I've seen it too many times. If that's probably unfair. But you know what I mean. It's a burnt out movie, but it's a classic.
Any thoughts on this, Brandon, or do you want to hold your tongue on it?
What's your favorite scene in the movie?
Oh my God, dude! I mean, the whole thing.
So either a favorite scene or a favorite line.
The opening line.
Well, yeah.
Where are you from? Austria. Throw another shrimp on the barbie. So
it really fits the tone for the whole thing. Yeah. It really does. I would definitely probably say the scene whenever they're like playing in the snow and they're having the fake fight and he winds up and throws a fastball right to her face. That just gets me every single time.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's really where my mind went. That's great.
Yeah.
I can see Justin and Claire reenacting that at Breckenridge.
Oh, he'd kick my ass for sure. Number 9 is Uncle Buck.
Nice. Wow. Yeah. John Candy. That's probably pre-1988 or maybe right at 1988.
89, something like that, probably.
I just keep using that year, so I'm referencing back to it. But
pretty safe.
That is a great movie.
It is. It's a good story. The whole line whenever he tells her to go downtown and have a rat gnaw the mole off her face is just fantastic.
Yeah. It's that's peak John Candy.
Yeah, exactly. And just the way he threatens the boyfriend is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
He's like talking about the axe. He's like, I like to keep mine razor thin so it can circumcise a gnat. Who says that? John Candy was a genius. So he had to.
I'm really impressed by that pick. That's a great one.
Yeah, he had to make the top 10. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was also really close in the top 10 for a John Candy movie.
Last comment I'll make about that is that's probably the only movie that's rated PG that'll be on this list.
Almost certainly, yeah. Number 8. Okay, so this one it's going to depend on the day you ask me, but it's a variation of Vegas Vacation, Christmas Vacation, and Family Vacation.
Yep, I agree.
Just whatever the three, it just depends on like Christmas time. Obviously, I'm going to choose Christmas.
The Griswolds, it's great.
But the Griswolds are fantastic.
I still feel like the original stands out as probably the strongest film. Are we just eliminating European Vacation from that conversation?
It's good. It's just different.
Yeah.
Pretty. Yeah, a little weaker.
Definitely has its funny moments.
Yep.
But
my favorite moment in the family vacation, the very first one, is when he's just like, I think he's daydreaming or something, and all of a sudden, like, he comes to his senses, and they're about to hit a semi truck, and he ends up like going off road and coming back. And all of a sudden, his wife wakes up, and she's like, Clark, you okay? And he's just like covered in sweat. He's like, just fine, honey.
Yeah, man. Eddie is great.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say Eddie is fantastic. You know, it goes on and on, really.
Yeah, Chevy Chase is another just absolute roller coaster of a career.
Yeah, it's definitely been a weird career overall.
He's had some bad stuff.
He has. His brand of humor doesn't translate well unless you really like dry comedy.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So number 7 was Happy Gilmore.
Okay.
Nice.
Had to get an Adam Sandler movie in here. The golf one, I mean, you got to go with that. It's the most quotable movie probably out there. One of them.
It's a staple for our generation. Is like everyone that's between 22 and 37 has seen Happy Gilmore at least once in their lifetime.
At least 20 times on PBS. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I thought that was a solid one. Number 6, Kyle, you may not be familiar with this movie. It's a movie called Tin Men. And essentially, yeah. So essentially, I didn't think you would be. So this is a movie. It's probably 1986. Brandon and I looked into this recently.
Yeah.
We talked about this movie a lot. But essentially, it's T-I-N, like, Tin Men. And it's got Richard Dreyfuss and Danny DeVito in it. And they both sell aluminum siding. And they're rival tin men. And they run in. So the big thing is like to have a Cadillac. That's like your pinnacle for success is having a Cadillac.
Sure.
And so Richard Dreyfuss gets a Cadillac. Danny DeVito runs into it. They get into this whole big kerfuffle of, accusing each other. And so they start like going basically into an all-out war to like, get back at each other for, fucking up the Cadillac.
Right.
And man,
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Dude, it's so great. Like Richard Dreyfuss goes and like sleeps with Danny DeVito's wife, and it turns out that Danny DeVito just was tired of her anyway and was like, you know what? Joke's on you. You can keep her. It just like hangs the phone up after he tells him that, and he's just like, that son of a bitch screwed me. Like it's so diabolical. It's a fantastic movie though. Great 80s movie.
Dude, I'm excited. I didn't think there was going to be anything on these lists I hadn't seen, so that gives me something to go watch. And same director as Good Morning Vietnam, which is another great Robin Williams classic. So, yeah, I think I'll like that film a lot.
Martin from Frasier is in it as well.
Okay.
John, I can't think of his name. Anyway, I kept wanting to say Mulaney, but I know that's not right. It's something like that. Number 5 for me is Old School. For the reason we talked about before.
We had Old School in the exact same positioning.
Yep. I moved it around at the last second, but
I can't have it 1, but it's definitely top 5.
For sure. I agree with that.
What's one of your favorite scenes from Old School?
Dude, that's a tough question. Man. So I would say, obviously the opening scene, I feel like the opening scene's strong. My favorite line is when he's streaking and the wife picks him up and he's like getting in with his ass. He's like, Big KFC still open?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like some shit I would say for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think mine's probably one of the more underrated scenes. It's whenever they're in the kitchen arguing. It's the whole earmuff scene. But it's the way that Will Ferrell is just like brandishing the hockey stick and like smashes that glass off the counter and then starts sweeping it up with the hockey stick. Like, so ridiculous.
Just typical frat dude. That behavior is so great.
Yes. It's just kind of one of those underrated things in that movie, but it makes me laugh every single time.
Yep.
That fact that they managed to worm Snoop Dogg in there. I mean, the fact that Dean Pritchard is just called Cheese, like that's amazing.
Right.
I mean, it's just all fantastic. Jeremy Piven was perfect for that role.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy Piven was perfect, and that launched him.
Sure did. He went a long way to Ari from there.
Right. Yeah, dude. Him on Entourage was the best, but
yeah,
I really feel like that's obviously our generation's Animal House, right? Like that's always been the comparison. And I go back and watch Animal House and I try to be as objective as possible. It's just, I mean, probably the eras, but I think Old School is much funnier.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, Brandon, I was going to say. Because I think I think that it was one of those things where it was shocking for the time. there's nothing else like it. Now there's something else like it, which is
Correct.
usually funnier.
Right. And old school may not exist without Animal House.
It definitely wouldn't. I think that's a good take, though. I don't have any problem with that take. Number 4 for me was The Big Lebowski.
Nice.
Yep.
You talked about that one a little bit already, Kyle, but I mean, everything about this movie is fantastic. I love the way this story is told. It's weird in certain places. It's weird in the right places, though. And, the way there's not a time in my house where if we're talking about carpet of any type that me talking about tying the room together with the rug doesn't come into play somehow.
Right.
There was a good 5-year span where I used to say that and Claire had no idea what I was talking about. She just thought that I was saying that. And then finally asked me one day and I was like, no, that was from a movie. Oh my God.
Is that Jeff Bridges' best performance?
It's got to be, right?
Yeah, I'd probably put it up there with his performance in Hell or High Water or Crazy Heart. But yeah, it's definitely in his top 3.
Crazy Heart was good.
Dude, Crazy Heart, that's a great call.
Yeah, it's a good movie. All right, number 3 for me. So the top 3, I would say for me, would probably change day by day, depending on the day you ask me. But number 3 is Airplane.
Nice.
Okay. Already touched on that a little bit. Holds up very well for a movie that's 40-something years old.
And mostly because it's hard to watch it and believe that they got away with some of the racist, sexist bullshit in that movie that is just unbelievable.
No way you're getting away with half of that today.
Is there ever a time when you two aren't at an airport that you don't think about the red zone and the white zone?
Yeah, no
argument about abortion.
And the best part to me, as tying it back to basketball, is that Kareem,
yes,
is flying it.
He's the co-pilot.
This is amazing.
He's Roger Murdoch. He's the co-pilot.
Yeah.
Did you guys know there was a movie called Airport before this one came out?
Actually, I did know that.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Serious movie, and then Airplane was the satirical response to that movie. So
yeah,
more people know Airplane than Airport, but yeah, for good reason.
And I think it's also one of those movies that every time I watch it, I feel like I find something new to laugh at.
That's fair.
Growing up watching it, I never put together the drinking problem thing, throwing water in his face as a drinking problem, And
right.
One day that just hit me for whatever reason. I was like, oh, God damn. All right. Well, that makes sense.
There's probably still 20 more little things for you to catch in that movie.
Oh, absolutely. I always laugh at all right, guys, let's get some pictures. They just take all the pictures off the wall.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2 for me was Mrs. Doubtfire.
Nice. Yeah, that was so we have a lot of my honorable mentions made your list.
For sure. I had to have a Robin Williams movie in the top 5 for sure, but definitely in the top 10. But when I think of Robin Williams movie, I don't think there's anyone better than this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't
One of the best characters in any movie ever.
Dude, I mean, he played a 70-year-old woman.
So well.
And just the way that he would change in and out of that costume throughout the movie, and the fact that Pierce Brosnan was in it and blatantly told him that he has a little penis, and just every little bit of it is just fantastic. It really was. And I think that one also holds a little bit of a special place for me, just having lived in the North Bay area and stuff like that, Northern California. It has a little bit of the feels to it a bit, just because it's, it has a homey feel. But
right.
I think, overall, if you think, man, it's really hard to argue with Good Morning Vietnam though and stuff like that. Those movies are so damn good. So I don't know. We've had this discussion about the pantheon of Robin Williams movies before.
I was just thinking about that. That's probably it's definitely his funniest movie. Is it his best movie? Still, maybe yes.
I would probably agree. Brandon, what do you think?
Man, that's a tough call, because I would say best comedic film, yes. Best movie acting wise, man, it's just tough, because it's you got Good Morning Vietnam, you got Patch Adams, you got
Dead Poets.
It's yeah, definitely.
Good Will Hunting.
Yep, Good Will Hunting. That's probably his
Oh
best
shit! I forgot.
dramatic role.
Good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
1
he's
hour
just had a very
photo.
1 hour photo. He's had a very
You're not
storied career. Yeah.
you're not going with Flubber or Bicentennial Man?
Oh, jeez.
I forgot about Bicentennial Man. That movie stunk out loud.
It's so bad. Now I'm just Googling it and I just remembered all these other movies. I was trying to do it off the top of my head. RV, Jesus Christ.
Harvey was bad. Night at the Museum was pretty funny.
Yeah, Night at the Museum is one that you would look on here and maybe not take it that seriously, but it's a good movie.
The thing about him is too that, like, I chose Mrs. Doubtfire as his best funny movie. I think that his best serious movie is definitely Good Will Hunting, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's his best performance for sure.
He was, dude. The other movie that's left out of this conversation a little bit is Jumanji.
Oh yeah,
fantastic in that movie.
Fantastic.
Wow.
And the remake was actually decent too, which I was happy about.
It was.
You fan of Hook?
Hook's a good one. I saw that. That's like a staple for my childhood, I feel like.
Yep, same.
Probably seen it 50 times.
Mhm.
Let's get the drum roll, Justin. What do we got for number one?
Number one is Caddyshack.
Nice. Yeah.
Excellent.
But like I said, I think that on any given day, those three could cycle out because I definitely had Airplane as number one for a while.
Okay.
So it really just depends. But Caddyshack is just a classic for all the reasons we talked about before.
Well, with Caddyshack, you just have Chevy Chase and Bill Murray both just firing on all cylinders at
And
that point. Was that like 83, 84 probably when that came out?
It was 80, actually.
Was it? Damn. Okay. But either way, those guys are just, I mean, it's kind of like the perfect timing for all of them to come together. Yeah, it was 80. You're exactly right.
Boom.
That's a tough one as far as best best scene or most memorable scene. There's just so many.
Dude, Ted Knight was so funny in that movie too. And Spalding and just yeah. That 1980, because I think that's when Airplane came out too. It was right about that time, 79, 80, something.
79, yeah, 79.
And I feel like that was the perfect time to be like for comedy to just go off the rails. And I feel like it was all those movies like Caddyshack were like that, where they would just laugh out loud funny though.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Brandon, it's your turn.
Honorable mentions. Man, this was really tough for me, but yeah, honorable mentions. I'd have to say Old School, Wedding Crashers. Then some other ones that were kind of like sort of dark comedies would be like In Bruges. It's a really good one. Ace Ventura. Absolutely.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, that's tough. I didn't think about Ace Ventura, man. That character.
Yeah.
That was the same year I'm looking at. That's the same year as Dumb and Dumber.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Dude,
he had like 2 or 3 years where it was just bam, bam, bam.
I didn't
he was
think about fucking Jim Carrey. I might have to replace Dumb and Dumber with The Mask.
Oh, The Mask is really good too. Yeah, that would be an honorable mention for me as well.
I would, if I had to pick of those three, I would say Ace Ventura is my favorite of those three. Holy shit, dude. Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all came out in 1994. He had all three of those movies in 1 year.
We actually, Brandon and I got to talking about this on like our very first or second episode of radio. 1994 was a hell of a year for movies.
Yeah, I mean, you have Pulp Fiction.
Man, there was so many. I don't even remember what all we looked up, but it's a shit ton of movies that year. All right, Brandon.
Good honorable mentions. I'm surprised Old School's not top 10, but still got the respect for the honorable mention.
Oh, yeah. And other honorable mentions be like, Blank Check, Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
Blank Check.
Shit, both of those. Both of those movies. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Part of my childhood for sure with Blank Check. Okay. All right. So getting to the list here. Number 10, I have this is a British comedy called Death at a Funeral.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is the original that came out, I think, in 2007, 2008, before the horrible Chris Rock remake that came out.
Right. That's exactly what I was about to bring up.
Yeah,
I'm glad you did.
Not the Chris Rock version, but this one was really funny because it had Alan Tudyk, who is the guy who I'm sure you guys are familiar with him, but he ends up inadvertently taking acid, and so he's at the funeral, and he starts freaking out like the body had moved. And then he accidentally knocks over the body. Oh, it's hilarious. There's a midget in there that apparently had a gay love affair with their father. Like, it's just, the whole thing is a wreck.
Isn't that Peter Dinklage that plays that?
Yeah, Peter Dinklage, yep.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, but if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. I think it's probably not on Netflix, but it's probably on Amazon Prime. But
it is on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I died laughing seeing it. So definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. So that's number 10. Number 9, I have Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yep.
That's Steve Martin and Michael Caine. And dude, that movie had me in tears. It was one of my dad's favorites, and he showed it to me when I was young. But I just remember scenes like Rupert the Monkey Boy and all these other scams, because basically they were just playboys trying to scam women out of money and just showing that, oh, I'm rich and famous or whatever, and they try and run them off and, you know, have some sort of sob story so the women that were rich would give them money or whatever. But yeah, that one's hilarious. It's stayed with me over time.
That's a classic for sure.
Yep.
Number 8, I have Tommy Boy.
Oh,
Tommy Boy. No, that's definitely Chris Farley's strongest film. That is oh man, that's a career I wish was not cut so short.
Yeah, me too, dude. Yeah, I agree with that, and that's why I named it on here. I mean, I liked Black Sheep, and I liked a couple of the other ones, but Tommy Boy is just classic.
Do you know why he did Black Sheep?
No.
Do you know why he did Black Sheep?
Mm-mm.
He was contractually obligated with the studio to do one more movie, so they basically did the same movie as Tommy Boy over again.
Ah, okay.
Dude, it is almost the exact same movie.
Yeah, it has the same tropes.
Yeah, exactly. And his just cadence with what's the name? David Spade is so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's spot on. It's great. Yeah, so that one's a great one. Number 7, I put Airplane.
Okay.
That was one I had higher initially, but then I thought about other movies, and that's just one. I don't know. I kind of felt comfortable with number 7 for that one.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing to go back and watch. And some of those scenes are pretty pretty dicey, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Number 6, Dumb and Dumber.
Okay.
First time I watched Dumb and Dumber, I actually didn't see it in theater. I rented it with my dad. And when it got to the toilet scene after Lloyd gives him all of the X-Lax and he's just shitting nonstop on the toilet, man, both my dad and I were just crying laughing.
That was actually what my favorite scene was when y'all asked earlier, but I didn't want to be that guy. But it absolutely is the best scene.
Oh, you could be that guy on this show. Don't worry.
So diabolical.
It's so raging. It's because we've all been there. We know how it goes.
And then the horror on his face whenever, you know, he's like,
won't
oh,
flush.
the toilet's broken.
Dude, I feel like that would be my luck.
And he's all clanging around in there. She's like, what are you doing in there? I'm shaving.
Yeah, for sure.
Also a line I would come up with.
Yeah. And it's like, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. So many one-liners.
I know, so many. I could keep going. Number 5, Office Space.
Fuck yeah.
Damn,
that was an honorable mention for me.
Definitely an honorable mention.
Yep. I actually talked about this on our previous episodes. I saw it at Alamo Drafthouse. It was the 20th anniversary. Came out in 99. Man, that's just one of those movies I've seen probably over 50 times. And if you have ever worked corporate life, which I know all 3 of us have, but any of our listeners out there, you have not seen this movie, it's basically like you've been without air or oxygen. You need to watch this movie immediately because it explains so much.
Absolutely, dude. So the classic scene where they're playing not Scarface, but when they're just destroying the copier and they're playing Ghetto Boys song.
Yeah, Ghetto Boys.
So great. And that was filmed here in Austin too.
Yeah, it was filmed in Austin and as well as Las Colinas.
Yep.
But yeah, the office area in Austin, that building still exists there in Austin.
Yep, exactly right.
But
it did not burn to the ground.
Nope. Yeah, Milton didn't set it on fire. Yeah.
Looks so real, Brandon.
Yeah, I know. 1999 effects, man. And that was the great Mike Judge who created that film. So it was based off of animated shorts he did for MTV back in the early 90s when he was doing Beavis and Butthead.
Beavis and Butthead.
Yep. Finally got the movie made.
I've been rewatching Silicon Valley, by the way.
Yeah.
Have you? I know you haven't watched it, Brandon. Have you watched that, Kyle?
Yep. I've actually, dude, we're on the same page today. We, Jess and I actually just started that.
Oh man, so good.
Rewatching. We're rewatching that. I'm rewatching. She's watching for the first time The Sopranos.
Oh,
a lot of fun going through that with her.
Yeah.
Classic.
That's a good one.
All right, Brandon, what's next?
Getting through the rest of the list. Number 4, put Blazing Saddles.
Of course.
That's another one. Just
excellent.
Died laughing. I didn't know what to expect going into that one, but man, it's hilarious.
It's classic.
That's the oldest one on any of our lists, I believe. Yeah, it was 74. So it's 45 years old.
Yeah.
It's holding up well.
Yep, for sure.
Number 3, The Big Lebowski.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of feel stupid for putting Borat, not The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, you got to have the dude, man. You got to have the dude.
He abides.
Number 2, this is a movie that I don't know if you guys are familiar with, but it's called A Shot in the Dark. Came out in 1963, 64. It's basically the sequel to The Pink Panther.
Okay.
With Peter Sellers. So if you have not seen the Pink Panther movies with Peter Sellers, dude, this is the one to watch. It's hilarious. There's one scene in which he's trying to investigate and follow this female to some sort of like colony or something, and she goes into like some sort of country club, and he walks in, and all of a sudden this guy walks out the front desk. He's completely like butt ass naked. He's like, "Hey, how can I help you?" And he's like, "Oh," he can't even look him in the eye. He's like, "Yes, we are a nudist colony. So if you want to enter, you must be nude." So he ends up, going in nude, covering himself to find this girl. And eventually he talks to her and gives her a ride back to her place because she knows he's an investigator. And then somehow or another, like they're in some piece of crap like Mini Cooper or something, it breaks down the middle of the road, and all these people are like scrambling, and they're all just looking around, just screaming because they're just sitting in there both naked.
That's so weird.
Yeah,
dude, for that to be filmed in 63 too.
Oh yeah, dude. It's one of the best comedies. I can go back. I've seen it so many times, and it's hilarious. I die laughing. I recommend.
I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, A Shot in the Dark.
All right.
Number 1, I have, and I'm surprised you guys have not mentioned this movie, Monty Python: The Quest for the Holy Grail.
So that's probably my dad's favorite movie, who has a lot of influence on my list. I can name so many scenes of that movie that are great. It's, as I've gotten older, it's not as much my style of comedy. It depends what mood I'm in, because like I had Friday on my list. Like I like that style of comedy, right? And like all my movies I was looking at are pretty much rated R. But Monty Python, when I want that like dry British sense of humor, which I do like, just in doses, is absolutely great. And of the Monty Python movies, I like Life of Brian, but yeah, Holy Grail is definitely the strongest.
Yeah, you echo exactly how I feel about it. It's the same exact thing.
Yep.
The Black Knight scene is the best. The Black Knight scene is just the best.
Oh yeah, of course.
'Tis only a flesh wound. But
he's
it's
just
so
trying
great.
to find him, and he's got no limbs.
It's so great from the scenes of like the guy who's coming in to like rescue the prince or something at the castle, and the guards are just watching the guy running in the distance, and then it like pans to them, pans back, and he's still running from like the same distance, and then all of a sudden he's there and starts like, and he slaughters everybody, and he's like, "Oh, sorry about that, everyone. Wrong castle."
Right.
So British.
It's so British. Now my dad is really into the British comedy, and he used to watch the Monty Python. I can't think of the name right now of the TV show.
Oh yes, I know what that one is. Yeah.
And if you've seen that, that is just the epitome of
Flying
British
Circus,
comedy.
right?
Flying Circus is exactly right. I was about to look it up, and that is just the epitome of British comedy.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. I don't have a problem with. I have no qualms with that being in the top 10.
No, not at all. Well, let's go top 10, boys.
Definitely.
I like.
We do have a lot in common, which doesn't surprise me too much. It's just interesting to see where they ranked out. Surprise Friday didn't make it on either of y'all's list, but
it was definitely a top probably 20 movie for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I wasn't too surprised, but
I put it next to Rush Hour.
there you go.
Oh,
dude, classic.
That's a great movie too.
That is good. That's actually like a well-written movie too.
It really is.
It's actually a good plot.
That one
but
got run down to the ground to me a little bit, kind of like what you were talking about before, Kyle. Same kind of thing.
That's been played on TNT and TBS more than any film ever.
Yeah. No doubt.
But yeah, I'll be coming out with a blog that's going to be similar to this structure where it's a top 10 list. I'm going to be trying to come out with one weekly. So the first one, I'll kind of explain where I'm coming from on it. It's going to be very subjective. So it's definitely there to start debate, but I really want to show myself as not just a sports person. We'll do some sports top 10s, but I'm going to start out with a top hip hop albums of the 2000s for my top 10. Since I'm Kyle Beats, I got to live up to the name. In the 2000s, and I'll talk about it on there, might be stronger than the 90s, which is a hot take when I go back and look at that.
Oh boy, I'll probably have to refute that claim, but we'll see.
You'll disagree hard with that, but yeah, I would argue 2000s rap was better than 90s. Although I acknowledge in there that the 2000s was responsible for Chingy, Young Jock, and Kevin Federline. So I'll take ownership of that.
For sure. And I don't think there's any any album that was made in the 2000s that even comes close to Dr. Dre's The Chronic. Even now, dude, that's pretty hard to get.
I think Chronic 2000 is better.
Start to finish?
Start to finish.
Ooh,
the beats are so much better.
Oh, that's a bad take. No.
Not bad.
No. Because the young Snoop was the best Snoop, though.
Yeah. And the thing with Chronic 2000 is Dre used a lot of features.
He did. So, which is fine. I have no problem. And there were a lot of features on the Chronic too, but or the Chronic also, but I don't know. There's something about Snoop when he was hungry like that was so much better. Anyway, I can't wait to hear these top 10 lists and what you come up with. I'll be interested with the 2000s because that's where I'm a little bit weaker in rap, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like you were big on 90s, and you're bigger than me, I think, on current rap, or just as up on it, because I think you have a lot of media that you get it through. Yeah. The 2000s was, that's kind of when I got into rap, when I was 12, 13, 14 and in high school and everything. So it'll be a lot of fun, but I'm going to be trying to put those out weekly and stir up some debate and get people thinking and seeing what they agree and disagree with. It'll be a lot of fun.
Can't wait, dude. I'll be reading those for sure. Alrighty, well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. We're going to thank Kyle for joining us. It's another episode of radio. Hey, we want to remind everyone to follow us on social media. It's at Sensibly Loud on Twitter. We're Sensibly Loud Media on Facebook. And make sure to give us a call. Leave us a message. We want to talk to you guys. We want to hear what you guys have to say on our opinions, or just we want to hear what you guys want us to talk about. So that number is 972-885-9361. And we will see you guys next week.
Peace.
Later.